Welcome to Fort Worth 148's podcast, where we meet to discuss Masonic topics and strive to build value in the Brotherhood. The opinions and statements of the participants do not represent any positions or stance of any Grand Lodge or Lodge and are solely the viewpoints of the participants. Welcome back to the podcast, brothers. This is Rhit Moore, past master of Fort Worth 148, and I'm all by myself except for my special guest of... Say your name, special guest.
Chris Galloway.
Nice. So, Brother Chris, it's good to
Yes,
have
sir.
you on the show. We've gotten to know each other for the last couple of years, and we're going to talk about that. So first, before we get started on all of our Masonic stuff, introduce yourself to the guys, because you've never been on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you allowing me this opportunity to speak with your listeners. My name is Chris Galloway. I am a past master of Valley High Lodge 1407 in San Antonio. Just to give you a just real quick brief one. And then I am in my usual vocation. I'm a former superintendent, longtime education leader. Currently, I am a executive coach, and my role is to coach superintendents in districts in the role of being a leader, as well as on how to do strategic planning for their school districts, as well as I'm a adjunct professor at Texas State University, where I am teaching future superintendents on how to take on that role in the future.
What'd you say? This is a adjunct?
Adjunct, yes. Basically a part-time professor for the Texas State University.
Sweet. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when did you join?
Freemasonry, I joined in November of 2013, and I was raised in January 30th of 2015.
Gotcha. And
Yep.
What was the genesis? Why did you join? What brought you knocking?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I actually have a book where I go into a lot of detail about this. But I originally was introduced to Freemasonry at my step grandfather's funeral. Interesting story. When my mom married my stepdad, I was roughly about 11 years old, and we moved to Illinois. And my step grandfather, he couldn't speak because he was paralyzed from a stroke that he had had a few years before. And he had a square and compass ring. And my stepdad's last name was Galloway, same as mine now. I took on his last name, and I always thought that G stood for Galloway. And it was interesting to see, because over the years, my step grandfather, he had all these men that would come over and visit with him, even though he couldn't talk. He could interact. He walked with a walker. He loved watching the St. Louis Cardinals. So they'd come over, watch the ball game, drink a beer. They would sit on the porch, drink a beer. They would talk, and he would try to talk, but nothing would come out.
Yeah.
But when he passed away, when I was 20 years old, I saw all those men at his funeral, and they were wearing aprons. And so I got to learn a little bit about Freemasonry at that point. And so later on in life, when I was having a difficult time in my life, I was going through a divorce from my first marriage, and trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. I went and knocked on the Blue Lodge door closest to me, and that's how I got started in Freemasonry.
Nice. The funeral has definitely been a huge draw. I mean, that's such a beautiful explanation of what we do.
Yeah.
And it's almost rivals the installation, because I tell people at the installation, I'm like, this is the expose right here. You're about to get the whole skinny at the installation. Yeah. And you kind of do in the burial service as well. It's just a little, for lack of a better word, morbid. It's a little more morbid.
That's a great point. And the interesting thing is I can't explain it because obviously I wasn't a brother at the time, and this was happening in Illinois. But I've been to a Texas funeral, and everything's out in the open. But they made us all clear out after a quick a speech and like a
Really?
yeah. So I don't know what happened behind closed doors, but I would be interested to know if there's an Illinois brother that would reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to him because I'd love to know what that was and why they closed those doors. So
Interesting. I mean, because you are getting your last, Masonic rights, last
yeah,
Masonic rights, if you will, not your last rights.
sure.
But uh, yeah, so maybe that is secret. But that seems a little. Hmm. I wonder if there's other jurisdictions that do that. Because that, when did you say that was?
Uh,
2000.
this was no, this was in um 1999, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean that's not really that far back. It could have
No,
changed by now, but because I
sure.
know we were doing funerals out in the open then, because I had an uncle that was like early '90s that I watched his funeral.
Yeah.
Funny
Yeah.
thing is none of that clicked with me. I mean,
Yeah.
people have all these beautiful stories, and it was just something else that kept me from eating with the family. You know what I mean? I couldn't wait to go hang with my cousins, and it's like, what are these guys talking about? But I
Right.
was probably, I don't know how old it was in like '94, but it wasn't old enough to appreciate that. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's interesting. I just now thought about that, and I think it would be interesting for to hear from somebody if there is something behind that. I'd like to know. Um, other than that, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they put an apron on them or what, but
Yeah,
whatever it was,
we need to maybe hit that up on the winding stairs and be like, who has are they private or are they open to the public? Because that'd be interested to know.
Yeah.
And maybe that would something in particular to their lodge, because who
Sure.
knows? Be
That's a good
interesting.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was a small country lodge too. So it was a town of maybe 1,000 people, maybe 500, something like that. It was a small town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you kind of hinted in there that you had a book. Let's
Yeah.
expand on that.
Yeah. So, I was the past master. I am a past master at Valley High Lodge 1407, and I wanted to really document what that year was for me. Not only because I think it's important to have like a something that brothers that follow behind you follow, basically a strategic plan for the lodge and what we did and how we did it, but also a history. So I wanted to do that. And my year was the COVID year. So I was 2019 to 20.
Hmm.
So that was even just another interesting aspect of it. And so I wrote the book, Leading from the East, Innovative Strategies for Masonic Lodges. And it's on Amazon now. And while I was writing that book, I was doing research on publishing because there's not a whole lot of Masonic publishers out there. And to
Yeah.
be honest, I really wasn't too keen on going through the whole publishing process with a publisher. I knew I could write good content and I felt like I could market it. And I ran across a book that talked about starting your own publishing company, which inspired me to start Perfect Ashlar Publishing, because I wanted to make sure that I could do the same thing for other brothers out there that have work that need to get out in the world. And I think right now I have almost 20 books published through our publishing company.
Mhm.
One of them's my book, and then I have three children's books that I published. My dad's a Freemason, my grandpa's a Freemason, and my dad is a Prince Hall Freemason. Those are the books that I have out for children, because when I became a Freemason, my kids were early, well, maybe 11 and I think 7 and
Mhm.
and my older kids, and they couldn't understand what it was. I heard everything from, oh, people say it's devil worshiping, it's not
Mhm.
right, all those things. And I really didn't know how to explain it as a new EA or even a newly raised Master Mason. So I wanted to write a children's book that dads and families could sit down with their kids and kind of spark that conversation about what Freemasonry is. So
Yeah. No, I joke because when you had them at the OLT, I was like, oh, a book I can read. It's got pictures.
yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of the point, right? Like it's
Yeah.
a it's got a lot of good pictures and what I tried to do was correlate it to something a child could understand. So for example, when talking about a lodge, I have the boy standing in a treehouse and saying, and it's got a Masonic emblem on it. And it's like, this is my clubhouse, which is a lot like my dad's lodge, right? So it
Hmm.
kind of explains in their language what it is. So I think it's a great book. The comments I've gotten, well, let's say feedback I've gotten was that, there's nothing for dads with girls, and that's a great point, and that's something I definitely want to try to work on next, because I do have two girls, and I'd like to give them something that reflects that relationship too.
Yeah. I mean, I was just at our stated meeting, wives and kids and stuff are coming up on the regular. And there were three youngsters that were playing together. Two of them were siblings, but one of them wasn't, and they just see each other every stated meeting, basically. But they were playing like they were old friends,
Yeah.
immediately. And, that kind of stuff happening continually, you grow up in that lodge, it just feels like a natural progression that when you're of
Mhm.
age, you're going to
Yeah.
petition. And I think that's the way it used to be.
Yeah, I think so too. It's interesting because yeah, I won't say who I was speaking to, but I was speaking to one of our Grand Lodge officers about the D Malay and Rainbow Girls, and one of the things they said is it's interesting to see how these youngsters are coming up, and these D Malay will one day be hopefully Master Masons, and hopefully these Rainbow Girls one day will marry a good man that they will recommend, or you know
Hmm.
wink wink
Yeah.
suggest that they join our
Hmm.
fraternity, because it'll make them better men. So yeah, I think it's important to inspire both girls and boys.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, it's just, I mean, I feel like when I first joined in the early 2000s, that family aspect really wasn't thriving. And it's starting to again, because a lot of
Hmm.
lodges, you do walk in and you see wives and kids running around, which I know what my grandfather talked about, my great grandfather taking him to lodge, and he would sit down there and sell potatoes and pump gas, and he'd get like a penny tip. This was in the teens and early 20s, but
Love it.
when he came of age, it was just the thing you did.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's how we socialized. I mean, it was either radio, if you had the money, and TV if
yeah,
you had the money, right? And
that's
if
true.
not, everybody sat out on the porch, or they went to a fraternal organization.
Yeah. Got out of the house.
Yep. Yep.
It's awesome. All right. So let's dig into I love this idea, the cruise that you planned. Let's do
Yeah.
some shameless plugging.
Sure. Yeah. So it's interesting. I know we're going to dive a little bit into the committee in a little bit, but brother Adam Sanchez and Adam Sanchez is a past master of Valley High. He followed behind me, and we were both serving the committee. Myself as a member at the time, and him as just a volunteer. And we were driving a long distance. We were driving from San Antonio to, I believe it was Tyler, or it could have been Lubbock, one of those two. They all mixed together now. But we were driving, and we had a long drive, and we started discussing possible options for how to engage people in Freemasonry. And one thing that he and I are big fans of are cruises
Mm,
and Freemasonry. And we thought, well, what if we combined the two? I have a good friend of mine who is a retired principal. He was a school principal for 30 years, and he is actually engaging in a education conference on a cruise in June, and that kind of sparked the conversation. And we thought, what if we did something like that for masonry? So what we did is we reached out to Carnival. Carnival has these deals that I didn't know that they worked conferences and
mhm.
things like that, but they have these deals that if you get at least 16 cabins booked, then you get a room to hold your conference for free. So we started, getting some group rooms together, and put out the information. And there was a deadline for the end of this past January 2024 to get the cruise fully booked. However, I've been told that they are still taking reservations. It's roughly about anywhere from 150 to $200 per person to reserve your spot, and then you have all the way until August of 2025 to pay it off. So it
Mm.
really could be just less than $50 a month to pay it off, or you could pay it all off at once if you want. But we got a bunch of great speakers. I'll be one of the speakers, but we also got Stephen L. Harrison from the Missouri Lodge of Research from Missouri coming in. He's going to be our keynote speaker. We have several authors that I published that are going to be speaking. We're going to have some activities like a sail away party, a dinner where we're all together.
Mm,
Families are invited. So it's $75 for just the registration for the Masonicon itself.
mhm,
But that's just for the Mason who's attending. Families and they can come too. They just have to book their own room. Last I checked, the lowest cost for the room was about $600.
mhm.
That covered all your taxes and gratuities and everything.
Yeah.
Now, as we get closer to that date, it's going to go up. So the sooner they can book it, the better. So if they want to reach out to me to get more information on that, I'd be happy to share it because the more Masons we get, the better. It makes these events awesome. We need to be doing more of these type of events.
Oh, 100%. So, real quick, how long and where are you going?
Yeah, so we're sailing out of Galveston, Texas. I want to say it's October 25th, 2025. I know everybody says that's a long way off, but for cruises, you got to book them in advance and it gives you
Mhm,
time to pay it off. And the further out you book it, the cheaper it is for you, which is one of the reasons why we did it so far in advance. And we're sailing to Cozumel and Progreso. It's a 5-day cruise. So what we're doing is we're taking one of those days at sea, and that's going to be the Masonicon day. And then
mhm.
the other days we'll have little events kind of sprinkled in here and there. So,
Got you. So the Masonicon event, that's basically where you guys are going to meet up, and then they're going to get hit with the educational speakers.
yeah,
Do your lunch thing, and then come back and finish up to where the wives could do whatever they want.
do whatever they want. So,
That might be a selling point for them.
yeah, and it's funny because that this a lot of wives are like, oh yeah, this is the first Masonicon I'm excited about going on. And then you have other Masons are like, hey, can I go on this cruise? And they're like, you're not going without me. So, you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I love the idea because the bottom line is the fellowship, and those
100%.
things tend to, nothing very rarely just blows the roofs off the first go round. Uh,
Sure.
but that word of mouth starts catching on, and the idea either evolves, or grows in attendance.
Yeah,
Uh,
the thing is if we book this one now and then the year that we're planning to go on this cruise in 2025, we start the 2026 one, then we could set it up to where every year there's a Masonicon cruise. So
mhm.
that's kind of the plan. We'll see how it goes though.
Man, I still think in the future you should consider Masonic Cruise. I love that.
Yeah. Oh, that is cool. Yeah.
Masonic Cruise. I mean, because if you coined it now, you'd be the first.
That's
Uh,
100%. Well, let's call it right here. Let's just do it. I
let's
got
do
it.
it.
Let's do it.
AKA Masonic Cruise.
Yeah, what is your royalty fee?
Yeah, no, I was thinking about it and I was like, man, because I love the idea from the get go. And then, that's how the Masonicon thing got, because Ezekiel
Sure.
Bates on the East Coast started
Yep.
that trend, from Comic Con and all the others. But that's so trendy and, just kind of markets itself in a way when it has a fun name with it. And
Yeah, that's true. Because a lot of there's a lot of guys who don't know what a Masonic con is.
mhm.
But when you say Masonic cruise, there's no missing that. You know what it is. So
Yeah.
love it.
And we did even push it together, because up there it is Masonic Con. It's two
Yeah.
separate words. And we here in Texas, us, we like to run our words together.
We go
Masonic
big or
Con.
go home, baby.
I'm going to speak as few syllables as possible.
Yeah. Love it.
So I think maybe the main content we wanted to talk about was the officer leadership trainings. I mean, we may or may not be a part of that. That's not what we're here, talking about. But we just
Sure.
want to kind of go over the OLTs, the officer leadership training, because I know for me it was extremely valuable. And now that I get to be a part of them on the other side, I mean, it's even more so for my Masonic journey. Each one of them, it just juices me up, and I learned something at every meeting. I mean, like the last one where they were talking about doing a bull riding for fundraising. How
Yeah.
genius is that?
I love it.
I mean,
Love it.
and the little boy that won his belt buckle and how
Yeah.
proud he was of it, I bet you that guy joins eventually.
Yeah, mutton busting for the kids and bull riding. I kind of wonder what their liability is on
Oh,
that.
they got insurance out the wazoo for stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but
But
that's awesome. I love it. We
man,
learn a lot from these guys for sure.
there's no doubt because it is so crucial for us to start thinking outside the box. It's like if you're gonna have a raffle, you don't have to raffle a gun.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I think that's the go-to for everybody. I mean, we are in Texas, of course, but you're right, and a lot of people don't understand that there are rules and regulations behind that. And it's not that the OLTs are the final say on everything, but at least it points you in the right direction to look for the resources and tools you need to have a successful lodge. And I think
yeah.
that's the most important piece of OLTs, next to the camaraderie that you get from being with these guys and the friendships that you make, the lifetime friendships that you make. Because I
Mhm.
I have I have friends now that I know from my warden's retreat, because that's what it was when I went.
Yeah.
And I'm still connected with those guys, so for sure.
Same, absolutely. And that's the thing about the what I like of the direction of the OLTs, because I said it to you guys before that we are standing on the shoulders of giants with guys like
Mhm.
Larry and all them that came before us that built this up to what it
Yeah,
is from its conception all the way to now. It's gotten better and better. Uh, but I love how we are teaching more towards where you go find the information as opposed to us, teaching you the information
sure.
and really
Yeah,
drawing the classes out to share their experiences in lodge, because that's what was so powerful to me was like, oh, you have troublemakers too, you
yeah.
know or you tried that fundraiser and you had success, or you didn't, what did or didn't work. And man, I know on breaks so many times I would go up to you guys and I just eavesdrops on the table and they're like talking about their issues at lodge with another lodge
Yeah.
and how they resolved them or what they're going to do to take back. And it's like, that's the magic of that thing. It's the mojo, because we might teach you something.
Yeah, maybe just a little
Yeah,
bit.
maybe. But you will leave with Masonic juice, if you will, some energy to take back to your lodge. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I kind of envision ourselves as instead of instructors, we're facilitators, right? So
Yeah.
like, we stand up there, and even starting off, it's, hey, what we're going to share with you worked for us. It may
Hmm.
not work for you, but it's going to spark that conversation and that facilitation. It's almost like a big think tank. And the OLTs 101 and the 201s, they have really almost 2 full days of getting together and just discussing Masonic issues and concerns, planning for the future. Their vision grows quite a bit, and so it's exciting. You can feel the energy in the air.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And that's what I'm saying. That stuff is contagious. So I love sopping that up as much as I can, just getting it from the guys there. I mean, because they feed off of each other. And I think that's one of the most powerful things. Because I mean, if you got to be there, you might as well have fun, right?
Yeah, if you're not having fun, sorry, coughing. I got the flu. I got a
Luck,
little excited there.
luckily, it's not contagious over Zoom.
No, 100%. No, yeah, if you're not having fun, and we talk about this throughout the whole weekend. If you're not having fun, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
And when you're not having fun, that's when you disengage. So definitely have fun with it.
No, and that is something that's been in all the OLTs since the beginning. And Larry's the one that did, because I think when they had the wardens retreat, they did a junior wardens and a senior wardens class.
They did. Yeah. And
Yeah,
they provided a flash drive with everything you needed to be successful in those years.
yeah. Well, when Larry took over, Larry Fitzpatrick, and I think even before that, but he kind of amped it up as well. That's when you got the officer leadership training. They switched from the OLT, I mean the Wardens Retreat, and did officers leadership training to encourage Master Masons that wanted to go to go. You don't necessarily have to be an officer or a warden, you know.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I would even say that if you are a past master and you've been, and there's a good chance you could go through again, or you're providing counsel to those younger Masons coming up, you should go, because we change it each OLT just a little bit and from year to year, because we take the feedback from everybody who attends and we just make it better. And
Hmm.
so you're going to gain something new. You mentioned yourself, you're at every single one of them, but you gain something different each time. If it's not from the content that you catch different, it's from the conversations that happen. They're just so invaluable.
Yeah. Well, there's the brother, I think it's Benny, his first name, but I can't remember his last name. He's down in Houston. He's been to 17 of them, I think, the
Yeah,
last time
that's
we were
crazy.
there.
That's
Is
awesome.
Yeah, and he says I learned something new every time. But I mean, and again, like I said, we might teach you something, but you will leave, pumped up.
Oh,
And
yeah. That right there is invaluable. And that's what needs to hold on to. I mean, I tell the story all the time at OLTs that when I left the warden's retreat as a junior deacon, and just to give you context, I was raised in January 2015. I was elected in June 2015 as junior deacon, which I think is typical in every lodge, right now. We're seeing that kind of thing happen, and some even to senior deacon and even junior warden. But when I went in, I was so young as a Mason that I was excited and I was ready to go. But when I got back to my lodge, I hit some roadblocks, and it wasn't until my senior warden year that I went back, and I really should have went back the next year as senior deacon, because I think that would have propelled me into the South.
yeah, no, it at least get you juiced up enough for it. Because I mean, this is what you're going to leave with most of. But I love the structure of the 101 and 201 as opposed to, this warden or that warden. Because I went as a past master. I've been secretary for like 4 or 5 years. And I was like, you know what? I bet I could learn something here. And I ended up taking it 3 years in a row. I did 201 twice.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. But uh, we've since added another class. It doesn't count for any, like you can't take the 301 class and check off your marker for, I think it's 264.
Yeah, I think so. That
Yeah.
article.
Yeah. You got to either do the live program or attend a leadership training before
Yep.
you're installed. The 301 doesn't satisfy that, but it does satisfy the itch for Masonic symbolism or
Oh
history.
man, it does. It's awesome. And even this year, we've changed it again, because now we're adding speakers at each city, and the speakers are different. Or if we have the same speaker, they're going to speak on a different topic. So if
Hmm.
you attended 301 in one city, that same year you can go to another city and it's going to be different. And
Yeah.
and I think that is amazing. It's a great opportunity, because Masonic education, while leadership is incredibly important, the symbolism and esoteric stuff, and behind Freemasonry is just as important.
Oh, well, that's what we joined for, right? Nobody joined to be the administrator of a lodge. Oh, I want to be secretary of the lodge and file paperwork. That's why I joined. No, we joined because we have curious minds, and we want to peel back the curtain a little bit and pierce the veil. But
100%.
in order to do that, we too have to have a well functioning lodge, and that's where the administrative part comes in. And I love that we teach that, but it had been our hyper focus for so long. It feels so good for this, committee to start stretching out a little bit. And I feel like, and I know you do too, because we talk about this all the time, this is step one into something much bigger. Because I mean, we know guys are hungry for it. We do the Masonicon up here uh, in
Yeah.
North Texas. You guys have done a couple down there in South Texas. They've got another one planned for later this year from Perfect Union Lodge, isn't it?
Yeah, let me give a plug to that. So that one is on April 19th and 20th. And get this, it is the same day, same location as our OLT. And you know what? We could easily say, well, that's not good because we're going to take from each other. But no, what we're doing is what good Masons are do is we're going to talk to each other, and we're going to collaborate, and we're going to make this thing amazing. And so it's going to be really our first test for how a organization like ours that has these OLTs can partner with a lodge and do a fundraiser, but at the same time can work together to spread Masonic light across the region.
Hmm.
And I think this is going to be it's going to be awesome. I know it's our first real test of doing something like this on this level, but I think it's going to be amazing. So I highly recommend anybody who needs the 101 or 201. San Antonio is going to be the one to go to for
Hmm.
that, because for sure it's going to be awesome. There's going to be a lot of activities, a lot of vendors, a lot of opportunities that you won't see in any other city. But those 301 guys, we're going to have something special for them, and we're going to make sure that it's awesome. I mean, we can't get into too much detail right now because we're still working it out, but
Yeah.
it's going to be awesome.
No, and that's what I say. I mean, because if if all goes well, that will give us the motivation and the sales pitch we need
Yes.
to make this something bigger. Because when you start treading into the unknown, it's so easy for people to be conservative and not necessarily say no, but not be excited about it. And
Yeah.
I mean, for me, was I've experienced the energy at an event like MasonicCon and those kind of things, and I know it's there.
Oh yeah,
You know,
100%. And I think we want to attract more people to be active in Blue Lodge. Then we got to raise our game, because right
mhm.
now our pendant bodies are kicking our butts. So we need to step it up.
No, and you said it earlier. The fact that them having an event at the shrine and us having an event at the shrine, there's a lot of people that look at that as a problem.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that when Grand Lodge is there. You shouldn't be. And it's like, we talked about moving it, and it's like, how can we make this work? Because we don't want to discourage what they're doing.
No, we want to encourage it. In fact, the
Exactly.
more of the type of stuff like this is going on, not only are you going to raise money for your lodges, but you're also going to spread light. And that's what we should be about.
Yeah. I mean, because that's to me, that's a great fundraiser if you can pull that off. But if
Yeah.
nothing else, if you just break even or make, because we've never broke even on a MasonicCon yet,
Nope.
but it's been worth every penny we've had to spend on it. And the lodge
Yeah.
agrees because we keep voting it in
Yep.
our budget.
Yep.
So
Yeah. Love it.
but the 101 and 201, that is definitely going to be the admin. You're going to learn like what Grand Lodge law, planning your year out, those types of things, budgeting. We'll go over that fun stuff.
Yeah,
Oh,
so we kind of took a spin on the 101 a little bit, and we created a leadership framework. So that leadership framework is capacity building. So we talk about how you could build capacity in your lodge and your by mentoring. And we'll go a little bit deeper into that in a few minutes about our Ashlar program. But providing mentorship and getting people ready for the warden's positions. And then we talk about accountability. So that's where Grand Lodge Law comes in. And we talk about external accountability, which obviously is Grand Lodge law. Nobody likes to talk about it, but we need to talk about it. You got to be aware of it. And you don't want to bring in that external accountability. You want internal accountability where you're whispering good counsel and you're providing that advice that you need to brothers. And then we talk about the uh, the relationship building. So we talk about how to use social media to build relationships, how to use your calendar to build relationships. So we talk about those things, and then we talk about systems in Lodge. So there are systems in place like SOPs, standard operating procedures. We talk about balloting, which is a system. We talk about investigations and guarding the West Gate, which is a system. These are all functions of a lodge you need, and that's the 101. And then 201 just takes it to the next level. And so you're going to get something different each time, but it's going to help you become a good leader in your lodge, not a manager, but a good leader, if not great.
yeah. No, absolutely. And you will, like I say, you will make those connections with guys. I mean, could be in your district if you attend one in
Yeah.
your local area, or if you feel froggy and you go to one. That's what we used to do, travel Corpus from Fort Worth to Corpus. So we met
Yep.
guys from all over the state.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
like I say, Austin might be the one to be at. I mean,
Yeah.
not
San
Austin,
Antonio.
San
Yeah.
Antonio, yeah. Which that place is always awesome to go to. I can't wait.
Oh, I like it. I like living here. So, oh, and I think that's still Fiesta weekend. So if you want to bring your families and send them to Fiesta, I mean, that's a great thing to do too.
Yeah, and which from our surveys, this has been cut down drastically for those of you that attended it in the past. Start Friday and end Sunday morning. Well, now we start Friday. We usually end about 8:30, maybe 9 if we're running a little late. But then we're out of there no later than 3 on Saturday, so you
Yep.
can spend the afternoon out in San Antonio.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, if you come to San Antonio, you can go to Fiesta, or if you want to stay back at the Shrine and attend the event with Perfect Union, they're going through Sunday, so they're Friday to Sunday. Yep,
There you go.
yep,
It's good times. So let's talk about the new program, the Ashlar program. It's being
yeah.
rolled out. I'm not very privy to this because that was a whole nother side of the committee working on that.
Sure. Yeah. No, but I was deep in that work with our former chairman, Cody Cockcroft, Right Worshipful Cockcroft. He did an amazing job with leading our committee. And that was one of the things that came up. And we give a shout out and dedication to Right Worshipful Bart Henderson on his dedication to it, because he wanted something that we could bring to Masonry to kind of spark that fire, and he knew that education and mentorship were the two things that could do that. And
Mhm.
so what we know is when we have brothers that are well, future brothers that are candidates, and then brothers that are becoming entered apprentice, and then they pass on to fellowcraft, and then they get raised to the Sublime Degree of Master Mason. They typically learn the work, quote unquote, but they don't learn why they went through what they went through. And
Yeah.
so that's what the Ashlar program does. We took this from another grand jurisdiction and we made it better. We improved it. We adapted it to Texas Freemasonry. We took it and we went deep with it. And so what this program does is it provides brothers an opportunity in a lodge to take a mentorship role and to mentor the brothers or the people coming in as candidates. And as they go through it, they go through this booklet with them. Then there's also like a quiz at the end that they can grade so they can know that they're proficient in it.
Hmm.
And it's not a mandatory program, but I will tell you that it is going to be the Grandmaster's emphasis this year on the Vanguard.
Hmm.
So if you want those points on Vanguard, then you definitely are going to have to jump in on this program.
I love that our grandmaster is just wholeheartedly run into just accepted and ran with these programs
Yeah.
that Bart was going to do. I mean, because the Ashlar program, I know you guys poured a lot into it because the jurisdiction you got it from, it was for their jurisdiction, and you guys
Yep.
texified it, which took a lot of work. And
Did.
I think there's a lot of good stuff in there that lodges that kind of need the documentation to start turning the tide, because you have guys that's like, well, why would we do that? It's like, well, here's the Grand Lodge program. They are
Yeah.
encouraging it, and they're like, okay, then it's okay. Then if they say mentoring's good, then it's probably good. you know and it can help with those curmudgeons, but also it will give you a great framework to spring from, because I was that guy that my mentor was not a why guy. He was, I mean, by the book, letter for letter, taught me the work, which I'm
Yeah.
thankful for. But I had to go to other mentors to learn, like, what does it mean when I say what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of veteran guys that don't even know what that means because they didn't have that mentorship or they didn't seek that light from somewhere else. In my lodge at Valley High, brother Bill Boyd, he's a past master and former DDGM as well. He brought to our lodge when we brought a brother to entered apprentice, we gave that brother not only the book from Grand Lodge that kind of talked about a little bit of what they went through, we gave him the Claudia book of Entered
Mm-hmm.
Apprentice and then Fellowcraft and Master Mason as they moved up. And we asked the brother to give a report on it at the end. So when they returned their work, that night they returned to work, and if it was accepted, they had to give a report, a verbal or oral report on the book and what they learned from it. I learned more from that book than I think anywhere else as a Master Mason.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Claudia was a genius at summing things up.
yeah, so what we did as a committee is we took a little bit of Claudia, a little bit of the old, or the same books that are still authorized to give to the candidates and apprentice
Hmm.
fellowcraft and master masons, and we made it elementary for any lodge to be able to use, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's genius. So y'all pulled from those books, the little Claudie books?
We pulled some information from those, as well as the monitor. There's a really good mentoring booklet that's out there in Grandview that's been out there for years.
Hmm.
From what I understand, it's long. We pulled from that information and put it in the mentoring book, because we're including in the Ashlar education program a mentor book, candidate, Freemason, entered apprentice, fellowcraft, and master mason.
Gotcha. And this, I'm assuming, is going to be uploaded onto Grandview if it's not already. Uh-oh.
Yeah, 100%. And it's going to go out to the district education officers.
Gotcha. Get you a drink. Because guys, if you're not on Grandview, you need to get logged in and go to the resources tab, and you'll see EA Fellowcraft or Entered Apprentice Fellowcraft, Master Mason. The first two are empty, but the last one, Master Mason, has a ton of stuff of resources for you guys. Vanguard gonna be uploaded, the new Briscoe, which is the side I was working on while they were doing this Ashlar program. I say many of the other committee members as well were working on the Briscoe workshop. But you can also get every Briscoe workshop ever written. I mean, it goes all the way back to the 50s, I think. So that's a phenomenal resource that if you're trying to get something going at Lodge, um, there's a lot of tools in there, whether it might be law scenarios you want to go over or, educational pieces. I know this one coming out, we've got activities you can do, little snippets for stated meeting, nothing long. If you wanted to have a paper to present, uh, and law scenarios in there as well. So
Yeah,
definitely a good
Grandview
resource.
is just getting better and better. Every time I go in there, it seems like there's something new.
It is absolutely, and it is a tool that's underutilized by us. And I say that in the fact that we're just getting used to it, and a lot of those tools are coming online. But the communication aspect alone is great because the sending out the email all at once to where nobody can reply all, and
Yeah.
it's coming from a good source because it came from the Grandview, and there's a lot that's coming down too. There's going to be treasure software and stuff that to where that's something you're going to want to be a part of and encourage other guys to join up.
Well, we're not ready to talk about it yet, but there's some things we're going to be putting out as well that I think will be invaluable to every master mason. And you say it's underutilized. Well, only 45% of masons in Texas are on it. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, our average age is 66. So
yeah.
we do got to cut some guys some slack. I mean, that's fine because we went digital at the last OLT and we realized, wow, most of our brothers don't know how to use QR codes. So
Yeah.
we're going to have a
You live
quick
and
class
learn.
on QR codes.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because if you looked around at our 101, there were a lot of older guys in there, and they are
Yeah.
they are going to be first time going through the chairs, and I
Keep
think
it
that's
up.
great. I
Yeah.
even there was a one gentleman. Oh God, I think he was in his 80s,
No, yeah.
and
He's 83 years old, 82,
he's
83.
brand new to masonry. I love it. I
Ah,
love
dude, I hope I have that kind of spirit when I'm that age.
it.
And that's why, I've been corrected so many times and it's hard not to say young and old or this or that, but it
Yeah.
is, it is the Mason, you know what I mean? Are you a young Mason or are you an older Mason? Because I'm getting up there as a Mason. I'm still a young man. I mean, I'm only 47, 46, so I'm not that old.
Well, we're in
I
an
am
interesting
actually, am
time.
I?
Yeah, right. We're both old.
46. It's old saying it out loud.
Yeah, we're in an interesting time right now, and we talk about this at the OLT, but my son, 18 years old, Generation Z. If you have no idea what that means, I mean, they are on some social media platform. They're not even on Facebook or X or Snapchat anymore. They're on different ones. And
Yeah.
so if we want to attract these younger men, we have to talk about it. We have to be aware of it, but we also got to be cognizant that we have our 83-year-olds sitting out in the crowd, right? That
Yeah.
are they're eager, and this guy was eager, and I loved it. And you're right, I have a tendency to do it too. Usually when I'm referring to young and old mason, though, I'm talking about, experience more than I am age,
Yeah.
but but
No, it
it's
is.
a habit we probably need to break.
Oh, 100% we do. And it was Russell Brown, the Russell Brown down in San Antonio with the Bruise Brothers.
Yeah.
He took an OLT and we were talking about mentorship. And I kept using that term, older and younger. And he corrected me. He's like, hey, man, there's a lot of old guys in here that are asking for what you're talking about, young guys. And it's like, all right, I've got to quit saying that,
Yeah.
because I don't necessarily mean it in that context as much as I do like a mentality, but I don't know how to say, meanie, blue meanies, or
Yeah.
however you want to say it, curmudgeons.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it always goes to old and young. And it's like, I don't know, because now I'm teetering into the old man part. So,
Oh, I feel it, man. Now with this flu and even these OLTs, man, because we typically do a Friday night and then we have a little festive board at the end for the committee. Those Saturday mornings are rough, boy. I
they
tell you.
they are getting tougher and tougher.
Yeah, and of course I order the pizzas, and you won't partake in that, but you always feel it the next day, and you don't even partake in it. But that pizza
I
is probably what makes it worse.
Yeah, I know. I get upset tummy by osmosis. No, if I ate it, it'd be way worse. So I wanted to touch on Vanguard before we wrap up real quick, because you'd
Do it.
mentioned Grandmaster's emphasis. That's a part of them earning points for the
Yeah,
Vanguard, right? And
yeah.
and what's the point of earning points?
Man, so the Vanguard is super important because what the Vanguard does is it actually breaks down for you what an efficient lodge looks like. Notice I said efficient lodge. So if you're hitting it on all cylinders and you earn points in different areas on the Vanguard, then you if you get a max number of points, then that means that you are running an efficient lodge. And if you're efficient, then you're highly successful. You're fundraising and getting money. You're putting yourself out there in the community, and people are seeing you. You're gaining members. You're able to give the ritual in a way that needs to be given in an appropriate way. Your officers are educated as a whole. I think that's why it's super important. So, a lot of people think, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to compete in that. Well, our philosophy is if you go through the Vanguard and you take the steps to do it, then really what you're doing is you're building the platform for what your lodge is going to stand on. And here's the thing, and we talk about this. If you have one bad year with your lodge and you don't have the leadership in place for just one year, it sets you back 2 or 3 years.
Oh,
We talk about the
minimum, yeah.
same thing in education. There's research out there in education that if you have a teacher one year that's horrible, then those kids are set back for 2 years. Well, if you get two bad teachers in a row, now what? So if your
Mm,
lodge has gone through 5 or 6 years of this, it's time to get back to basics. And that's what the Vanguard is. It's the basics of what an efficient lodge is. So if you follow the Vanguard and just make the attempt to go through it, then you are going to be setting your lodge up for success. It's one of those things that you can't hurt your lodge by going through the Vanguard, if that
yeah,
makes sense. All you're going to do is help it. And so for sure, yeah, with the emphasis every year, each year the we have a Grand Master. That Grand Master picks an emphasis for the Vanguard, and if you do that emphasis, you get some additional points on that Vanguard. So why is it important? Well, the top lodges in the state of Texas will get their most of their per capita taken care of up to a certain amount by going through the Vanguard and being one of the top lodges.
that's right. There's a monetary prize, if you will. And neither one of us are going to admit it that we don't know it, and we should.
Yeah.
We're going to point you to the Grandview login to look
Yeah.
at that. That way you can actually look at the document if you've never seen it, what it all takes. Because you're going to see if your lodge is active in any way, you're already doing 50 to 60% of it.
You should be able to go through there and go check, 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 check. And then when you're going through that process, you're gonna find what you're doing right, and you're gonna find what you need to be doing. And the system. People that say, well, our lodge is small. Well, it's broken up by small lodges and big lodges. So that way, that if you feel like that it's not
Mm-hmm.
fair, we have it broken up by that, so that you can be at the top lodge in the lower bracket with less members, or you can be a top lodge in the top bracket with the most members.
Yeah, and we're not talking about a couple $100. I mean, this is thousand,
Oh no,
couple
it's it's
thousand.
it's 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 around $1,000 Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's 1,500 for small lodges, and
I think it is. And I think it's up to 2,500 or 2,000, but I don't want to say because I can't remember, to be honest with you.
yeah, and then the other one's double or something,
Yeah.
So it's significant. It's way better than just a parking spot. And
Yeah.
I saw something marked off last year, but I was never made aware of any of that being a prize, because you get recognized at Grand Lodge, but
Yeah.
that's a small part of why you do Vanguard. But
Well, and if you were at Grand Lodge this year, which if you're listening to this podcast, there's a good chance you were because I think everybody in Texas was there. You saw Brother Cockcroft bring up several lodges and hand them a check, and that's basically what it was about, was recognizing them for their Vanguard and being a top lodge.
Yep. It's awesome stuff. Let's go check that stuff out.
It's great.
I know we forgot to talk about your podcast. Plug that real quick.
Oh yeah. So just like the publishing company Perfect Ashlar, my podcast is Perfect Ashlar Publishing. It's gone through some different variations. It's gone from me and another brother co-hosting it and talking about different Masonic books to where now I am wanting to make sure that I can be available, because it's hard with partners to get together with schedules and stuff. So I will have some guest speakers. I'm sure I'll have you on there, Brother Moore. But we'll have some guest speakers on there as well. And it's mostly about how to apply Freemasonry to your life. So we're going to be talking about different things that have not only impacted me but other people, but just from the symbolism, because as we know, I mean, Freemasonry, it's what you take from it, right? So and how you apply it. And so not very many people talk about that. So that's really what I want to focus on is spreading light and opening the discussions and making them short. So I used to make them a little bit longer, but the average drive work time to work is about 20 minutes from the average person. So if I can keep the podcast around there, then they have something to listen to on the way to work and on the way home.
I'm totally way too long-winded for that, but
yeah,
I love it.
I am too. Typically, I mean, shoot, we've been on here together already, but
I love it. And the more of these kind of things the better, because it's been very valuable for our lodge. Great tool. We never dreamed it would, actually people might listen to it. Here we are.
Yeah.
I'm going to plug Masonicon. If you haven't got your tickets, go to texasmasonicon.com and grab your tickets. They're at the early bird price, I think. And man, we have got some great speakers that we're flying in this year. Nice. So we're swinging for the fences, trying to, we had a good number pre-COVID, and we're going to try to build back up to that. So go grab your tickets at texasmasonicon.com.
Love it.
All right,
throw up
Chris.
the QR code that people can't use.
Yeah, exactly. Which it's the first weekend in August. Don't get me quoting details here. Just go to the website. It's all up there.
That's awesome. I love it.
All right, buddy. It's been fun. You got anything else before we close?
Yeah, let's do it again. I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity. Sorry for the listeners that hear me cough here and there. But I'm happy to be here and excited to see everybody that's going to come out to OLT this year.
All right. Sounds good, man. This is Rhit Moore signing off.
This is Chris Galloway signing off.
I love it.